Welcome back. In 2016, the founder of the Rebirth of a Woman created a movement to empower women. Today, that movement is going strong as founder Mercy Baez-Duff uses her platform to focus on advocating against domestic violence and sexual abuse. Baez-Duff joins me now to discuss the Rebirth of a Woman and their overall mission. Mercy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, can you tell us about your organization, the Rebirth of a Woman?
Absolutely. So in 2016, here in the Bronx, New York, I am a Bronx resident. I found it deep inside me to advocate for abuse and trauma. And it was unfortunate that I had to experience it myself, but it gave me all of the right leisures for me to advocate through voice, through artistic measures, and through throwing just different monthly encounters with having events for women. And then over time, it expanded its arms to advocating for all people because unfortunately, domestic violence and sexual abuse is not subjected to one person or gender or identity, unfortunately. And so it is really important for us to have that voice, but it has to come from us if it happens to us. So I just wanted to encourage others, if I could, to be the voice for the voiceless until they gain the courage to actually speak up about their own experience and over time heal from it.
Now, I think it takes a lot of courage also, as you mentioned, to say, realize something, you experienced something, you said you wanted to do something about it. Can you just talk about what made you actually want to start an organization? And, was that even part of your healing in general as well?
Absolutely. It was definitely a part of my healing journey. Once you speak with people and you know that you're not alone, it kind of gives you this for you to say, okay, since it is a Me Too movement going on, it's not just to be a part of it, but it's also to know that you could identify with other people who too are going through things, unfortunate things that circulate this nation to all kind of people. And it really stuck to me that I wanted to figure out what is really going on with abusers. They too are people. And so it's unfortunate that they are acting out in abusive manners. But what is happening for them to even act out in these manners? And so as I kept performing throughout all boroughs, and then I went to different states, and it started to just get bigger with this message of let's just stand for each other and let's continue to encourage each other with the educational backing to it as to why people even have these moments of perpetrating acts of abuse. It comes from narcissistic behavioral patterns. It comes from possible molestation that might have happened to them, so they act those abuse out. So it just depends on what is happening with these different kinds of people and how can we actually help them. There are so many people that I found around the world who unfortunately are doing time in jail, for example, or something in that nature, where as though they are being at fault for just defending themselves or for speaking out for someone else and then being in a more unfortunate situation that is more abusive because they are trying to defend themselves. And so I've had the honor and privilege to work in different spaces like school systems in Rikers Island, and to have the moment to really just look around me and see how women are going through what I went through. And that could have been me in their seat. I could have been doing time for defending myself from my abuser. And where is the abuser today? Why aren't they in jail? Or maybe jail was not even honestly the answer. I believe that we need to have more programs, more resources that would be dished out for those who are perpetrating these acts of abuse so that we can support them to unlearn these behaviors. I do believe in change. So many different people have shown us the history of what it means to change and evolve as people, as we are healing. It's a constant journey. It's never ending. And so I do believe that if we focus more on encouraging, educating, and then figuring out, okay, let's not leave this group of people behind. Let's go back to everyone and let's figure out how can we support them. Unfortunately, you will have some people who fall off as you are trying to support them. You can't have everyone as your audience, but I like to look at everyone as my audience when I throw these events because it is for everyone. Even if you were an abuser, you can come to this event, and if you have the courage, you can speak about it and we can try to see what we can do to help you, or maybe someone else can learn from your story and say, because they told this story, I'll make sure to not fall into alignment of this acts of abuse, or I'll learn to support others that come to me with these unfortunate stories that may have happened to them.
Now, I want to touch on the fact that you said that sometimes you'll go to schools. I think that's it's very interesting, and I think lately we've been talking more about like how we can talk to younger audiences about consent and just their body in general. You know, what made you want to reach out to students as young as kindergarten, and how does that work? How do you do that?
The the babies, they're so precious. I look at children with the complete innocence of having the opportunity to really reach them in their innocence. Um, Unfortunately, I was molested when I was younger at the age of around 5 years old, and it lasted for some time. And it was a family member. And being that I was violated in my innocence, I take children's innocence very, very delicately and very, it's very important to me to maintain their innocence. So
Right.
let's have a playful manner in talking about what it means to be safe and what it means to identify narcissism that may be around, because it's literally in every stature, I believe, in every class, and it's just literally everywhere.
Mhm.
um, and I think we all obtain narcissistic behavioral patterns within our characteristic, and it's just about what it means to not have an unhealthy character while we interact with people. And so in 2020, I was homeschooling my 9-year-old daughter, Niall, and her and I taught mindfulness, meditation, and yoga virtually. And we just taught free weekly classes for families at home to help release stress and to help them identify what it means to be mindful. And I took that as the first step of a tool to teach the younger generations and what it means to just be aware. And once you're aware, then you know, okay, this is how I feel. This is why I'm feeling this way. Is it coming from me, or is it coming from an outward standpoint? And what can I do to ask for support, or to gain better understanding and what it means to move forward with either healing or just exploring yourself more. And so we had a great time with that. We had dance parties and all type of stuff going on
Mhm.
virtually, and it was great to engage with families virtually for them to express, because 2020 during COVID was a
Right.
lot. It was a lot for those who were out frontline protesting. It was a lot for those who were nurses and doctors trying to aid everyone who was unfortunately getting ill. It was a lot for schools and teachers trying to help their
Right.
children. So we were just trying our best to support them through that.
No, I love that you said that your daughter was like a part of it. I think it's so amazing for children to see other children kind of doing this work and being visible, because you pointed out earlier having a peer, like somebody that has been through it, or just like to see a version of themselves. So for kids to see themselves like with you doing this work, I think is amazing. I understand that you also had a Black and Brown Women's March, and children were also a part of it. Can you talk about the importance of having children be visible in your work?
Absolutely. 2020 was a really tough time, but it was such a beautiful time because I learned how to grow closer to the younger generations. I found that in everything, we kind of I too am at fault, so it's not in judgment manner, but we kind of leave behind the younger generations at times. And I just wanted to find a way to keep them inclusive during a time like 2020, when it's realizing the world is waking up with what's happening. And so we were able to have a peaceful march from the Bronx into Harlem, and we had families and children holding up signs, and it was just so beautiful. I had my mother and my daughter there. They were also protesting with us, and we were just remembering the names of those that we lost and talking about what it means to stay together as a family during that time of 2020.
Now, I also want to bring up community because I think that's also very important. I understand that you have a partnership with Starbucks Harlem District. Can you tell us more about that partnership and how it started?
Absolutely. I'm so excited about it. And I chose here to start it off to talk about it. So we have a partnership with the Harlem District, 11 stores in Harlem, Starbucks, and we are allowing them to partner with us in every event that we throw. So we are looking forward to building an end of the year, end of the summer event. Can't talk about that yet, but it's going
Mhm.
to be an outdoor event. And every table that we have Starbucks right next to us. supplying food and beverages, and supplying the space for a safe space for community, for us to have these conversations, for us to have fun, and for us to have community building, whatever that looks like. So I like to just travel to different locations to figure out, hey, what's going on here? Do you need help with something? How can I help? And if it is adhering specifically to the work that I stand for, then it makes it so much easier.
Now, I also want to talk about the fact that you support women's health. So obviously, mental health and that version of health is important. But I think it's very cool that you also like have women's health. Can you talk a little bit about the women empowerment stretch sessions every Saturday through Zoom?
Yes. So it started in the beginning of June, and it's ending in August, and it's every Saturday via Zoom, where we have a stretch session. It's a woman empowerment stretch session, and it's specifically spelled out womb for our wombs. There's a lot of stress that resides in your spine and in your womb as a woman, from carrying around the ways of life, our ancestry,
Hmm.
being mothers. It's just so many things that is carried, and it stays adamant there. And it creates different illnesses. And so I myself have even experienced gut health issues from 2020, from lack of eating, from too much stress, from waking up and realizing and unlearning a lot of things that I thought was actual truth, and I found that it was different. And it hurt me physically. The stress literally put me sick, where I thought I was going to die. I was throwing up all day, every day. And it came to a point where I said, I have to figure out how to not only stay alive for my daughter and myself and my family, but to continue encouraging other women to take care of their bodies. It's really important. We have a big percentage of women who die at childbirth. It's just so many things that are going on with Black and brown women specifically, and all women in general. I'm big on unity, but I don't want to diminish anything of what Black and brown people have been working so hard for over this course of time. And so I specifically, as a brown woman, I am focusing on Black and brown women with these stretch sessions, and allowing us to all come together with identifying our pains and how we can stretch through breathing, breath work. And it helps a lot for you to breathe through your pain, even through
Right.
natural childbirth. I had to give birth naturally, and it was a lot going on with that. And so I had to learn through my experiences. If I don't experience it, I'm really adamant about not teaching it,
Okay.
because I personally, I don't mind having teachers who haven't experienced something and they're passionate about teaching it. That's beautiful. We need that too. But I just personally want to experience it and go through it, so I can say, hey, I remember how this felt for me. I can just tell you my journey, and maybe it can help you with yours.
Well, Mercy, I want to thank you so much for joining
Thank
us and
you.
having this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope to be back.
To find out more about Mercy and the rebirth of a woman, please go to their website, which you can find on the screen below. Stay tuned, we have more open for you right after this.